From the studios in San Diego, California, this is Frank Fired Up here on the Mixed Up Sports Network, coming to you live here on opening day this Monday, the third day of April 2017, as we get set to go. And as I said, it is opening day all around Major League Baseball today. You had three games yesterday. One of them produced a very exciting finish, the other two were sort of eh. But the rest of the teams getting into action today. All of these teams will be off tomorrow. The teams that went yesterday will be on tomorrow, which we'll get to that in a minute. But really quick, we'll just run down the scores here from yesterday, and of course we'll get in depth with yesterday afternoon's Yankee game. We'll get in depth with today's Met game. From yesterday, getting the wrong. Okay, here we go. From yesterday, the Tampa Bay Rays beating the Yankees 7-3. Diamondbacks come back in the sixth, eighth, and ninth to beat the Giants 6-5, and the Cardinals over the Cubbies 4-3 in one of the most entertaining ninth innings that you will ever see. Today, you have again the majority of the league going through. You had the Mets winning today by a final score of 6-0, which of course we'll get into. The Miami Marlins falling to the Washington Nationals 4-2. Boston beating Pittsburgh 5-3. Colorado over Milwaukee 7-5. Baltimore over Toronto 3-2 in 11. The Dodgers beating the Padres 14-3. Chicago, Detroit was postponed. They'll play tomorrow. Minnesota beating Kansas City 7-1. The Phillies over the Reds 4-3. Got one game in action right now. Top of the first inning. Game just started between Cleveland and Texas. In Arlington at 8:10 tonight Eastern, you have Seattle versus Houston, and then LA Oakland tonight at 10 Eastern. So we'll start again with yesterday with the Yankees, and a day that Masahiro Tanaka, after a fantastic spring, didn't have the best final start of spring, and that appeared to have carried over into the regular season, where he had just an abysmal start. 2 2/3, 8 hits, 7 runs, all of them earned, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. He gave up 2 home runs, one to Evan Longoria and one to Morrison. On the other end of that, you had Chris Archer, who did what Chris Archer does: 7-0, 7 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts. In his day of work, you had Lane, Warren, Holder, and Shreve go for the Yankees. After that, to sort of hold it down, Warren went 2 1/3. Takeaways from yesterday: Gary Sanchez going 0 for 5. You had 2, 3, 4, and 5 go over. So Sanchez, Bird, Holiday, and Ellsbury all went 0 for 4 yesterday. And again, that is 2, 3, 4, and 5. Sanchez 0 for 5, Bird and Holiday 0 for 4, Ellsbury 0 for 3. That is not a good start if you're the Yankees. That is not the way you wanted to start the season if you were any of those guys. Now, Bird had a fantastic game defensively. He did make a couple of very nice snags, I believe, in the fifth. He made 2 very nice defensive plays with the glove. And it just goes to show how much the Yankees really truly would have missed him last year if he was doing what he was doing yesterday. Now turn the day over to tomorrow. For the Yankees, you will have a chance at redemption against a team that is really not supposed to be all that good. The Rays, the Rays are a team that honestly you would have to expect this team to finish in last place this year. I would say only about 70 wins would be my guess. And the Yankees really aren't going to be much farther behind. But if they keep hitting like that, this is going to be an absolutely abysmal season for the Yankees. And I know I'm not trying to freak Yankee fans out. I'm not saying, oh, the world is collapsing. It's one game. There's 161 of these left. And you have CC Sabathia going tomorrow, who honestly is a pitcher that is going to pitch strictly off of uh, memory. That's really all you can say about it. He is going. He is a pitcher who is going to be pitching off of memory, and you're going to expect that all year long. So for the Mets today, you get a big win against the Atlanta Braves that puts you up at 35-21 all time on opening day. One of the better records, and again, you see it down in the description there. The Yankees are now 76-40-1. That tie coming in 1910, a 4-4 tie against the Red Sox. The Met game today, you have Syndergaard throwing fire, fastest opening day pitch ever recorded, 98.2. Previous record was 97. So you had a big high heat game out of Noah Syndergaard today. A quiet game from Reyes, a quiet game from Cespedes, even though they both walked and scored. A loud game from your number two hitter, Asdrubal Cabrera. Duda, who is going to be labeled the hero in this game with the 3 RBI double in the seventh, goes 1 for 3 with a walk. Syndergaard leaves the game after 6th. I really honestly don't think he would have pitched the 7th inning, because it's usually the beginning of the season where starters really only see 6 innings or 85 pitches, and through 6, I believe he was at or around that pitching total. Yeah, Syndergaard was at 86 through 6, so I really doubt that on an opening week or an opening couple starts that he would have pitched beyond that. I mean, the managers now tend to take it easy on starters the first month or so of the season. They'll put a pitch cap on them. They'll put an innings cap on them. Whichever one they hit first is the one that goes. Leaves with a blister on his thumb. His start for Saturday has been pushed back to Sunday. Gesellman moves from Sunday to Saturday against the Marlins. So there's your change. Gesellman, who pitched an inning today, allowed 2 hits and a strikeout. Coming in the 9th inning, that is not a spot that Gesellman is used to pitching in. So that's something you don't take stock in that. However, when you see Kroll, Rowe, and O'Flaherty for Atlanta walking 5 guys in the 7th, that's something that Atlanta really is going to have to nip in the butt. Because if it wasn't for those walks, that was not as big an inning if not for the walks. They had walked 5 Mets in that inning. Half the players that came up in that inning walked. There were only 2 hits that inning. Rene Rivera's to lead off the inning and the double by Lucas Duda. The rest of them were walks or outs. And then you also had the fielder's choice by Flores. Which, getting to that Flores play at home, I played catcher in Little League in high school. The only reason why Tyler Flowers would have been behind home plate on that play is if he was watching. Flowers has been a major league catcher for 10 years now with the White Sox and now with Atlanta. It's been a good 10 years that he's been in the league. He knows very well you have to be out in front of the plate. The only thing I can think of is he didn't expect, he was watching because he did not expect Flores to round third. Flores steals second on a no throw because Reyes swung like a madman and gotten Flowers' way. And I agree with Hernandez. I don't think that was a hit and run. Because usually on a hit and run, you'd take a look back to see if the guy hit it. I think that was a straight steal by Wilmer Flores. He never looked back. And they said at the beginning of the game about Wilmer Flores, no one seemed to get a reaction quite like Wilmer Flores. And to be perfectly honest, it all stems from that night against San Diego 2 years ago. Once you show in this town that you care and that you want to be here, you will be treated like a god. Seen it happen before. It doesn't matter how good you are, it doesn't matter how meaningless you are to the team. If you show that you care and you show that you love being here, we will treat you like a god. Doesn't matter. He will be a fan darling his entire stay with the Mets. If you show that you want to be here, you know what? We're going to welcome you with open arms, and we will look past a lot. You've seen it before. You've seen it with players before. We'll look past a lot if you show that you want to be here. So you get the straight steal by Flores. That's a simple base hit for Cabrera. Really? If it's a tie game, if the Mets are leading in that game, I don't think Flores goes home. He's not a fast runner. He's not the smartest on the base paths. But in a tie game, seventh inning, you've gotten into the bullpen. They're not pitching well by any stretch. He took a chance. He took a chance. He caught Flowers napping. That's the only excuse why Flowers would be behind the plate, because you're taught in the lowest levels of Little League. I know, I did it. To get out in front of home plate. You are always supposed to be in front of home plate. If Flowers is in front of home plate, he's out. And I'm looking at that slide by Flores. I'm like, you gotta get some sliding practice in, man. Did you see the slide into home plate that he had? He went down, spiked his front foot, picked it up, slammed it back down, and spiked it again. He's going to break his ankle doing that many more times. And he did get in just before the tag. Why? Because Flowers was behind the plate. Why? Because he was caught watching because he wasn't expecting Flores. And even when you're not expecting, I was taught that the second that ball is hit and there is a runner on second base, doesn't matter if you know the ball's not coming to you. You get in front of home plate. You do not stand there and watch. You get in front of home plate just in case somebody misses a cutoff, somebody throws it wide, and you're going to need to be out there because the guy might come home. Tyler Flowers, a major league catcher, got caught watching. That's the only excuse as to why he would be back there. He got caught watching. Does that matter in the grand scheme of things? If it was a 1-0 game, yes, of course it does. But it was 6-0. Atlanta walked in 2 runs after that. and then Duda hit the bases clearing double because Inciarte was playing so shallow. Robles comes in, shuts them down. Salas comes in, shuts them down. Gazelman, who's going to get the start now on Saturday, 1 inning, 2 hits, 1 strikeout. Mets struck out 11 today. Struck out 11, walked none. 7 hits, no runs, 11 strikeouts, no walks. That is the biggest one. Atlanta walked 8. And as soon as Tehran came out of the game, it exposed that. Because you have nobody in that bullpen that is as good as Julio Tehran. And the Mets proved it. We'll take a quick break. We'll go to the end of the show. Right after this, we'll get to the men's college basketball, women's college basketball. UConn finally losing, and was Friday night's first period against the Devils John Tavares' last as a member of the New York Islanders. Back after this.
Will make the start, Christy. It's not very big. It's just that it actually popped. He had it and it popped during the inning. So these guys, that's a very common thing these days. They'll dry it out in the next couple of days and he'll be ready for Saturday. Actually, he's going to pitch Sunday. We're going to bring Selman back on Saturday.
That that was Terry Collins on the uh, blister that ended Syndergaard's day, possibly prematurely, possibly not. Audio courtesy of ESPN.com. Just going through really quick. Again, it will be So tomorrow it will be CC Sabathia going for the Yankees. That'll be Wednesday. Will be Pineda versus Cobb, and then DeGrom versus Cologne. So those are that's the pitching matchup for the next couple days for the Mets and the Yankees. Right now, the New York sports finals from this past weekend, from Sunday. Nets actually beating the Hawks 91 to 82. They're getting dangerously close to losing that worst record in the East now. Worst record in the NBA now that they're continuously winning games here. Celtics beat the Knicks, go figure, 110 to 94. Derrick Rose, torn meniscus, done for the year, and probably done for next as he's completely destroyed any possible free agency stock that he gained over this season now with what will be his fourth knee surgery and his third meniscus surgery. Mets beating the Bravos today 6-0. Yankees losing to the Rays 7-3 yesterday. Off today. Devils losing to the Flyers 3-0 on Saturday. Islanders beating the Sabres 4-2 yesterday. Rangers beating the Flyers 4-3 yesterday. Saturday, the New York City FC beating the San Jose Earthquakes 2-1, and also on Saturday, the Houston Dynamo over the New York Red Bulls 4-1. Those are your finals from over the weekend. I do apologize, by the way, for missing the entirety of last week, pretty much. Schoolwork got to be a little too much, and just an absolute mess last week. So we do have a lot to cover over these last couple of weeks, over these next couple of days. Most of it will be national stories. Because really right now going on in New York is just the end of the hockey season, which will be next week. I believe actually this Saturday or either this or next Saturday. So we'll get into more of that. The NBA ends at the end of the month. Baseball started today, well yesterday and today. Pretty much that's pretty much it, other than national stories, which we're going to cover. And one of those national stories being both the men's and the women's NCAA tournament. Now, the women's tournament ended yesterday, but the shock of the tournament came on Friday when Mississippi State beat UConn 66-64. UConn losing their 111 game winning streak, which honestly, to Gene Ariema, all that means is that, well, now we had to start another one. Because that's what they do. They win 80 some odd games in a row. They lose one, and then they win 111. They lose one, and then God knows how many they'll win consecutively. Unfortunately, Mississippi State could not parlay that into a national championship. That was South Carolina doing that. It was 67-55. The final, South Carolina over Mississippi State, a 1 seed over a 2. South Carolina beat Stanford 62-53 to get to the big game. Then you have the NCAA men's tournament, the Final Four from Saturday, and boy, what else could you possibly have expected from a Final Four? I mean, those were two edge of your seat games, two games that you really, really, really enjoyed. 77-73, Gonzaga over South Carolina, and then UNC outlasting Oregon 77-76. You have another hour and a half or so to go before you see number one Gonzaga take on number one UNC. So two number ones make it to the men's NCAA tournament final. And now we get to the final story of the day, which is the very real possibility, if you're an Islander fan, and this should scare you half to death, and I know it does me, that John Tavares, who got hurt in the first period of Friday's game against the Devils with a lower body injury, may have just played his last game as a New York Islander. With the way the Islanders have played lately, there's no way they're making it to the playoffs. Let's be honest now. with the way they've played as of late, and they have been absolutely horrendous as of late, and that's not being mean, that's being truthful. That team has had problems recently. Big problems. Losing problems recently. It honestly, it's been since the Ranger game. The Islanders have won what, once probably, and that was last night against Buffalo. And the worst part of it is they're not getting points. They're just straight losing. Which is really not good. So the Islanders, who at one point were a point out, now find themselves 5 points out with 4 to go. They have 4 to go. They're 2 points behind Tampa, who have 4 to go. They're 2 points ahead of Carolina, who have 4 to go. And they're 5 points behind Ottawa, who have 5 to go. The season's over if you're an Islander. It's over. This losing streak that the Islanders have gone on after the Ranger game has killed their season. Killed it and killed it dead. It has been painful to watch the Islanders these last couple of weeks. Now there are a couple of bright points. Anders Lee gets 30 goals. He passes that plateau. He'll have the team lead in goals this year. Joshua Hosang has lit it up since he's come up here. But to sit here and watch the Islanders, who have lost to the Devils 2-1, lost to the Philadelphia Flyers 6-3, lost to the Predators 3-1, lost to Boston 3-1, 2-1. These are all big losses after a big win against the Rangers, a big comeback win against the Rangers, and a shootout win against the Pens, who are going to most likely to not be the best team in the East this year. So you lose those 4 in a row after 2 big momentous wins. Now you're done. You lost to Buffalo. Sorry, you just beat Buffalo yesterday. You have 3 games on the road, 1 at home left. You have Nashville, Carolina, New Jersey, and then Ottawa. That last game against Ottawa could have meant something if you would have won maybe 2 of those games. But instead, no. Now that game against Ottawa at the end of the season is going to mean absolutely nothing. The Rangers are already locked in. They're locked into the first wild card. They will most likely not play Washington. Montreal, with a win tonight, could win the Atlantic. That last playoff spot is still up for grabs, but it's up for grabs between Ottawa and Tampa. That's it. The Islanders are out of it. Which means, with Tavares' contract up at the end of the season, where does he go? Does he stay an Islander? Does he go to Toronto, who's currently beating Buffalo right now 3-0 at the end of the first? Toronto, who maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago was out of the playoff picture. Now they're fighting for second place in the Atlantic Division with Florida. A Toronto Maple Leafs team who last year won the draft lottery and got Austin Matthews, and will now this year, a year later, get second place in the Atlantic Division and make the playoffs from the first overall pick. And Toronto has money because all of their best players, Morgan Riley, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Austin Matthews, they don't have their big boy contracts yet. They're still on their entry level contracts. So they don't have to pay anyone yet. I think Morgan Riley is on his big boy contract. I have to admit, forget about it being your hometown team in Toronto. Just the way they're playing right now, compared to where the Islanders are playing right now, that's pretty enticing to me. And if Tavares does walk, if Tavares does walk, that has just set the Islanders back 3 years. And next year, they're going to be bad. The year after that, they're probably going to be worse. Probably a top 5 lottery pick again. And they're going to have to hope and pray to get somebody in that top 5. If Tavares leaves, dark times will be upon the Islanders again. While Strome, Nelson, Lee, Ladd, while all of these guys are very, very good, it is undeniable that the heart and soul, the reason that team is as good as it is because of number 91, John Tavares. Period. You take him out of the equation for the long term, and when I mean the long term, I mean period. What is that going to do to this team? My fear, nothing good. If you're an Islander fan, you have to desperately plea. And these owners appear to know what they're doing. If Garth Snow does not re-sign Tavares, that's the death nail in his coffin. The day that if Tavares does go to Toronto, the day he goes to Toronto is the day Garth Snow gets fired, because obviously you do not understand the importance of John Tavares to this team if you could not sign him. You apparently do not want this team to win because you did not sign Tavares. If Tavares goes, Snow goes. And I think every Islander fan is begging and pleading that he doesn't go. And he knows it. The question is, will he listen to the Islander fans, or will he go home? And that, I'm sure, will play out in June and July. But for now, that is it for the program today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Enjoy the rest of opening night. And I will see you guys tomorrow.